The Dodgers treated Chase Field like a no-K zone, and it turned into a win for our boys in blue. Let's talk about it. Let's get locked on Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Dodger fans, this is Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks to our everydayers for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning. Remember, this show is free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube simply by searching for Locked On Dodgers. So please subscribe wherever you're watching or listening right now. If this is your first time with us, my name is Jeff Snyder. That guy next to me is my co-host, Vince Samperio. Vince and I are both lifelong Dodger fans, just like a lot of you. We've also both spent time covering the Dodgers in the press box and the locker room, so we're not quite insiders, but we bring you the smart fans' perspective on our boys in blue every weekday morning. This episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I admit it, I have a competitive side, and it's a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go now for free on the App Store or Google Play. And Vince, we saw something that we have rarely seen in our lives, depending on how you define it. We saw something that neither of us has ever seen in our lives. The Dodgers win an entire game without striking out, 44 plate appearances, 0 strikeouts. That is the most in a 9-inning game in Los Angeles Dodgers history. They did 44 plate appearances one other time in 2003, but that was an 11-inning game. This is the most since 1955, most plate appearances in a game for the Dodgers with 0 strikeouts. And it's kind of continuing a theme. Obviously, you know, it's the first time they've had 0 strikeouts, but we've seen a few times in the last couple of weeks where the strikeout counts were maybe surprisingly low. And we know Mookie Betts isn't striking out at all these days. And he probably has, we talked about a couple times, he's striking out a lot less than we might have expected. But this, 0 strikeouts, that's pretty extreme.
Yeah, it's definitely, when they were talking about it, and I was wondering, like, hey, how often does this even happen in general, especially these days? And it's not something you would expect, with the lineup that has Max Muncy and Teoscar Hernandez, who do strike out a lot. You're thinking, okay, it's not as possible as if they put out a lineup of a bunch of guys that don't strike out as much. But either way, it worked out, and it goes to show that if you do put the ball in play, good things do happen sometimes.
Yeah, and maybe it would have been more notable if Chris Taylor and James Outman had been in the lineup. But yeah, and we also saw a couple times where a strikeout would have been preferable. The Dodgers' first and second innings both ended on double plays. Will Smith in the first inning and Shohei Ohtani in the second inning. And so obviously you would never root for a strikeout. And, Ohtani hit the ball hard and Smith just kind of bad luck where you hit it. Obviously, a line drive is better than a ground ball most of the time. And most of the time, contact is better than no contact. And that's what worked out here. The Dodgers had a sac fly in this game. They had a couple big, 2-run doubles with bases loaded. Good things happen when you put the ball in play most of the time, or at least more often than when you don't put the ball in play. It's almost impossible for a good thing to happen when you don't put the ball in play. Although, did you see the other day, this is totally off topic, but some guy in the minor leagues struck out 5 batters in an inning?
I did see that.
We were just talking about that because my son almost did it in his, 13U game a couple weeks ago. But yeah, I had never seen that actually happen. But a minor leaguer just, his catcher couldn't catch the ball, and he eventually ended up with 5 strikeouts that inning. So 5 more for that guy in that inning than the Diamondbacks pitchers got in 9 innings. Do you think, Vince, that this is a good contact lineup that the Dodgers have, or is this a fluky streak that the Dodgers are going through right now where they've had some pretty solid games as far as strikeouts go?
I would lean a little more fluke than this is who they are, but I do think that they have, Mookie, I guess it depends on what we've seen. Like Mookie Betts has been a guy, he doesn't strike out a lot, but, last year did have a little bit of issue with strikeouts for a little bit. And nowadays he's not missing at all. Ohtani, when the season started, it did feel like he was striking out a lot more. Now that he's not, the only times he gets out is, when he hits the ball 100 miles an hour at somebody, it seems like. Freddie Freeman's not a big strikeout guy. So, and Will Smith's not a huge strikeout guy, and he's actually, on a hot streak right now. So obviously it's a combination of a lot of guys on good streaks. But, as we've seen over the last week, there's still been times where strikeouts have come to play, especially with runners in scoring position. But it's a matter of, I do think overall, the top 4 in the lineup are pretty good at not striking out. If Rojas is in, he's pretty good at not striking out. And then it just kind of depends what the mishmash the rest of the way is. But it is also funny that a few weeks ago when we talked and about when the Dodgers were struggling, and someone mentioned, oh man, the D-backs can beat you so many different ways, and the Dodgers can just rely on the home run. I think I got someone in my DMs, and the Dodgers did hit 1 home run, but it was only a solo shot, and they did put up 8 runs, and the D-backs did not put up 8 runs, no matter how many ways they can beat you.
Yeah, it's I saw somebody the other day, similarly, maybe the same person was telling us, Dodgers need to play more like the D-backs and the Reds. And I'm like, you know what else the D-backs and Reds have in common? They currently have a worse record than the Dodgers. And so, at some point we have to accept the fact that the style of play that wins a lot of games might be okay. Looking at the Dodgers strikeout rates, individual strikeout rates this year, league average is 22.4%. The Dodgers have 7 guys who are currently on their active roster who are better than that. That includes Andy Pajas, whose overall strikeout rate is 21.7%, but that includes him striking out a ton in his first few games. So even his overall rate is now better than league average. Shohei Ohtani, 18%, Freeman, 17.9%, Kike, 16.4%, Will Smith, 14.7%, Rojas, 11.4%, and Mookie, 9.9%. And that's all coming into this game. So all of those percentages, I think all those guys played today. So all their percentages went down a little bit today. And so even better, Austin Barnes is just barely over league average, and Gavin Lux is barely over league average. Neither of them played today. But yeah, I mean, Muncy and Teoscar are really the two surprises, because Muncy's at 31.3% and Teoscar's at 34.4%. They're both well above league average in strikeout rate. And Teoscar, we know he hits lefties better than righties, almost to the point where I would start thinking about giving him some days off against righties sometimes, but against the lefties today, I mean, he hit the ball hard several times, had some key hits, and a hard line out. But I mean, I think he's maybe the biggest surprise. And then Muncy against left-handed pitching, he's struggled this year. So those 2 guys were kind of the key to that stat. The other 7 guys in the lineup, you're like, yeah, that doesn't surprise me that they didn't strike out at all. But yeah, when you get a game with both Teoscar and Muncy in the lineup and no strikeouts, it's definitely noteworthy.
Yeah, and it was just, kind of puts it on how this Dodgers offense operates. Yeah, they do hit home runs, but I would say, judging by the eye test, not overly reliant on home runs as they maybe have been in years past. They don't have as many 3 true outcome guys in the lineup as they've maybe had in years past. And that top 4 is just right now, deadly. You got three guys that are in the top. I don't know if they're still in the top 5, but at least the top 10 in batting average. You got Freddie Freeman being the slacker in that group. And when they come up to bat more often, then yeah, everybody else is going to have better chances, especially when, you're seeing different pitchers, and, this is first game of a series. You see a couple arms, nobody really notable, but still you get into the Diamondbacks and you put it down on them, and, it only benefit you as you move forward.
Yeah. And one of those members of the Big Four went 1 for 2 with runners in scoring position. We're going to come back in a second. We're going to talk about Shohei Ohtani with runners in scoring position and how some of the narrative has lingered even as the performance has improved. So thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen, and please keep it Locked On Dodgers. Hey, there's a lot of sports going on right now. It's playoff time in the NBA and the NHL. Baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed with their first $5 bet. That's $150 win or lose. I know you may not want to talk about the NBA playoffs right now. If you're a Dodger fan, there's a decent chance you're a Laker fan too. That unfortunately did not go the Lakers' way. I guess you could have put $5 on the Nuggets, and you would have won that bet. Wouldn't have made a ton of money on that, but you would have got your $150 bucks in bonus bets, or you could have bet on the Lakers $5, would have lost that bet, but you would have got your $150 in bonus bets because win or lose, you get that bonus. You can bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Hey, we're back. I want to thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning. Especially want to thank our everydayers. If you're not an everydayer, it's easy to become one. Just watch or listen every weekday morning. And the easiest way to do that is to subscribe wherever you're watching or listening right now. If you are watching this on YouTube, we would love it if you would comment your thoughts. The more comments we get, the more the algorithm likes us, the more new viewers might see the show and become everydayers. And so your comments, obviously, substantial would be awesome. If you have thoughts, you disagree with us, whatever, but even if it's just, go Dodgers, or wow, Jeff, you look good tonight. In fact, those are the best kind of comments. Wow, Jeff, you look a lot better than Vince. So check that, try that comment out. You can also go beyond the podcast and become a Locked On Dodgers insider by going to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. You can text with us one-on-one. We text our thoughts on news and rumors and all sorts of stuff. So check that out. It's just a few bucks a month with a free 14-day trial. Also check out Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Sports Los Angeles, 2 24/7 streaming channels on YouTube from the Locked On Podcast Network. And remember, you can listen to every pitch of every Dodger game on SiriusXM or the SXM app by searching for Dodgers. With all that out of the way, Shohei Ohtani went 1 for 2 with runners in scoring position tonight. Kind of gets back in the conversation I had last week about cluster luck. Ohtani comes up with bases loaded and hits a hard ground ball right at the second baseman for an inning double play. Whereas later he came up with first and second and hit a line drive base hit to left field. Would have been 2 runs if he had done that with bases loaded. Will Smith, like I said, he hit into a double play in the first inning. Later, he hit a home run. Would have been a 3-run homer if he had done that in the first inning. Sometimes the hits just don't fall at the right time. But back to Ohtani, like I said, he came through 1 out of 2 times with runners in scoring position. And he's now 5 for his last 15 with runners in scoring position, which is very good. And yet, because of that double play, the narrative persists that, because Ohtani did legitimately struggle with runners in scoring position to start the season. And you can talk all about why that might have been, and people do. The main topic on the post-game show that I was watching before we hit record on this was, Jerry Hairston talking about Ohtani's approach with runners in scoring position. And I'm not even saying Hairston's wrong. Like, I do think that Ohtani has been more aggressive with runners in scoring position, maybe, than he has been without runners in scoring position. There's always room for improvement. But it feels to me like one of those narratives that people get in their mind, oh, he started the season, whatever, 1 for 16 or whatever with runners in scoring position. That became the narrative. And so it's going until he goes on hits in 5 straight at bats with runners in scoring position. I feel like that narrative is going to persist because the overall numbers are going to look a little lackluster. The overall runners in scoring position numbers probably for a little while, because 1 for 16 or whatever he started is hard to overcome.
Yeah, I think what also makes it stand out, just thinking by, what I've seen is that a lot of the times when he does, and, to the point of the aggressiveness, a lot of the times when he does make it out with runners in scoring position, it's swinging at the first pitch. And I think that's, last night was one of those when you got the double play, swung on the first pitch. I can remember a couple from this past week where swung at the first pitch, and actually most of the time when he swings at the first pitch, he does hit the ground ball to second base. So, it's one of those things where, yeah, it's not working out right now, but his approach in general has been working. And obviously he's been better with runners in scoring position just based on the numbers anyways. And the fact of the matter is, they talked about it during the broadcast and just how he's been he hits the ball hard so off. Basically, the surprise is if it's not over 100 miles an hour at this point, rather than if it is. And even when he's swinging first pitch, or even, when he does not come through, the occasional times now, it's still hitting the ball hard. And that's going to play out for the most part better than it hasn't. Early on, he was striking out a little bit more when he did get those opportunities. And now he's not striking out. Now, if he can find the happy medium, which I'm sure he will, then he's gonna be even better. Like, it's hard for us to look at his overall stats and be like, oh man, Shohei Ohtani can be better, but realistically, he can be better.
Yeah, and he has been better throughout his career, and that's the thing that gives us the most promise is Shohei Ohtani is better than this with runners in scoring position, even better than he's been, his last 5 for his last 15. I think his overall, or there's been a lot of seasons when he even better than that overall with runners in scoring position. And Harrison did make a couple good points. One on that double play, the fact that it was a curveball that was low in the zone. And Jay Hare's point was, if you're going up there looking for that pitch and you swing at it, that's one thing. But like when you come up with bases loaded and 1 out and you're Shohei Ohtani and you've got Freddie Freeman and Will Smith batting behind you, you probably ought to kind of be sitting dead red, on the first pitch. Like, you pick a pitch and a location, and if it's that pitch and that location, you're swinging. If not, even if you take a strike, to make sure that you are swinging at your pitch. I think that's a good point from Harrison. And the other good point that he made, what was it? I can't remember what the other good point was. Some one that I thought of when you were talking, and then it jumped back out of my mind. Yeah. But Jerry Hairston did make another good point too. So don't think I'm not even disagreeing with Hairston, other than the fact that, and I get, we do 5 episodes a week. I get that sometimes you need things to talk about, and a post-game show, that is a topic for them to talk about. But I do think that there's a little bit of confirmation bias going on. Before we hit record, Vince, I was talking to you about, that there's kind of a lingering perception that the Dodgers are bad against left-handed pitching. And we've dug into that, earlier this season. And yeah, the Dodgers have been a little bit worse against left-handed pitching than right-handed pitching overall this year. And most years they are a little bit worse against left-handed pitching. But the last time they were actually bad against left-handed pitching was 2016. And there's only 3 guys on the offense who were on that team. And that's Kike Hernandez, Austin Barnes, and Chris Taylor. And that's the year that they traded for Taylor. That was the year before Barnes was getting much playing time. Those 3 guys combined for 343 plate appearances on that 2016 team. And that's the last time the team was bad with against left-handed pitching. Since then, they've been somewhere between solid and really good against left-handed pitching. Our buddy Jim, I know he listens. I don't know if he's an everydayer, but I know he's a regular listener. Jim has a running shtick on Twitter about the Dodgers being terrible against lefties. And at this point, I can't tell if it is a shtick or if he actually still believes it. But the fact is, we remember there's confirmation bias is a real thing. When you think the Dodgers are bad against lefties and then they have a bad game against a lefty, especially one who's not any good, like Ty Block, or, insert crappy lefty here, it confirms, oh yeah, or Patrick Corbin last week. See, Dodgers can't hit crappy lefties, but then when they destroy Patrick Corbin the week before that, or, whatever, when the overall stats say they're actually good against lefties, that part just kind of slips past because we got our confirmation. And, it's the same thing before this year with the Dodgers with bases loaded. This year, they actually have been bad with bases loaded. So people who've been saying for 4 years that they suck with bases loaded, even though they've been wrong for the last 4 years, they're now right and saying, see, I told you.
See, they were just waiting. The broken clock is right 2 times a day. So
they were just pre-right. They weren't wrong. Yeah. They were pre-right.
Yeah. If you sit on something long enough, it's bound to become right at some point.
Hey, Reggie Bush got his Heisman back. Sometimes all you got to do is wait.
Yeah. So, but yeah, overall, Ohtani is great, and he'll figure it. Not that he's not figuring it out, but he'll be better, and we're just gonna enjoy watching the rest of the way.
Yeah. Bottom line, I think right now, if the Dodgers are in a runners in scoring position situation, Ohtani is still definitely near the top of the list of who I want coming up. I think Will Smith might be the only person who I'd rather have coming up than Ohtani right now. Because like you said, Ohtani at least is going to hit the ball hard. And there's a good chance it's going to be a line drive or a fly ball, even if it's a sac fly, especially runner on third, you most of the time he's going to get the job done for you. And Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, obviously you can't go wrong with those guys, depending on who's pitching. Teoscar Hernandez, depending on who's pitching, Miguel Rojas even, because he's going to put the bat on the ball. But Shohei Ohtani is still right there near the top of guys who I want coming to the plate with runners in scoring position. Somebody who I am less enthused to see these days is tonight's starting pitcher, James Paxton. We're going to dig into his performance and unfortunately more of the same. So thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen, and please continue to keep it Locked On Dodgers. This Mother's Day, get something thoughtful for mom on DoorDash. Surprise her from wherever you are with fresh bouquets, the latest tech, gift cards, self-care treats, and more to make her day that much better. You can pair flowers with a gift card so she can celebrate any way she wants. Does she love books? Try a bookstore gift card. Does she love a good latte? Give her a gift card to her favorite coffee shop. You can't go wrong. Shop with savings that would make her proud. And with a Dash Pass membership, you'll save with a $0 delivery fee and reduce service fees on eligible orders from Dash Pass merchants that meet the minimum subtotal. There are other fees, including a service fee, that apply, and terms apply. I personally have had a Dash Pass membership for over 4 years. I have saved a ton of money on delivery and service fees. It has easily paid for itself in my case. So order now and get everything you need for Mother's Day on DoorDash. Use code LOCKEDONMLB to get 50% off your next order up to $15 when you spend $15 or more on your next flour, convenience, grocery, or retail order now on DoorDash. That's promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Order using DoorDash today. Terms apply. We're back. Thank you again for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning. Please become an everydayer by watching and listening every weekday morning. Please subscribe wherever you're watching and listening right now. Please comment on YouTube if you're watching there. You can reach out to us other ways. We'll give you contact info in a few minutes. If you're not watching on YouTube, become a Locked On Dodgers insider by going to joinsubtext.com/Locked On Dodgers. You can check out Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Sports Los Angeles, the two 24/7 streaming channels on YouTube from the Locked On Podcast Network. And be sure to catch every pitch of every Dodger game on SiriusXM or the SXM app by searching for Dodgers. And you can listen to this podcast on the SXM app by searching for Locked On Dodgers. James Paxton pitched for the Dodgers tonight. I did notice early in this episode, we've apparently settled on me saying tonight and Vince saying last night. So that should be the most confusing for our listeners. But, ever since we started premiering these episodes at night, I'm like, I don't know what to say. So when I say tonight and Vince says last night, we're talking about the same game. We're talking about Monday, April 29th against the Diamondbacks that the Dodgers won. James Paxton was the starting pitcher for the Dodgers. And unfortunately, it was more of the same, except for the part where he walks a tightrope and gets out of it without allowing very many runs. Tonight, he didn't get that done. He gave up 4 runs in 5 innings. He was maybe lucky to get through the 5th inning and kind of forced the Dodgers' hand. Daniel Hudson ended up pitching the 6th inning because he had to warm up in the 5th because Paxton looked like he might be coming off the rails. And so, I talked last week after Paxton's last start about how his performance was unsustainable. He had an ERA in the 2s with a FIP in the 5s, which basically means he was getting very, very lucky, and that luck isn't going to last. And we saw that again. He walked 5 guys in 5 innings, only struck out 4, which actually is an improvement on the strikeout side for him, but still not enough strikeouts to counterbalance all those walks. And the fact is, it was, and he gave up a bunch of hits today too. And so, like, way too many base runners. And today, a lot of them came around to score. And I'm to the point, Vince, where, like, obviously there's nothing the Dodgers can really do about it right now. They need Paxton in the rotation. They're already doing bullpen games. But when Walker Buehler and Bobby Miller are both back, it's hard to see a place for James Paxton in this rotation unless he makes some drastic improvements, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, even right now, when Walker Buehler is back, if they keep Landon Knack up, they,
unless they go to a 6-man.
Yeah. I mean, Roberts kept saying they're not going to do it, even though they're doing a pseudo version of it, but whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those to the point where, like, okay, let's say Buehler comes back after this one, they leave Knack in the rotation. James Paxton's going to have what Ryan Brazier got to go on the injured list and go work on whatever they need to go work on. And with him, it's mechanics, it seems like, is the issue. He just seems a little bit out of whack. He never really finds a rhythm. He can get a couple outs and then he'll walk a guy on 4 pitches. Like, when you're walking a guy on 4 pitches, there's something wrong. Now, if it's a bunch of full counts, okay, but multiple times he's walking guys on 4 pitches,
including once right after a 3-pitch strikeout. It's like, who are you? Yeah, which pitcher do you want to be?
Not even close. So yeah, it's one where 5 innings, 4 runs from your number 5 starter. would be perfectly fine, especially on a night where the Dodgers score 8. But the way he does it is just annoying. As someone, both of us hate walks and are appreciative of pitchers that don't issue walks. But it's one of those where he's, like you said, been getting lucky. He was lucky to get through that 5th inning. And the Dodgers aren't always going to score 8 runs. So you would like to have a little bit of a chance. At the end of the day, he is a 5 starter, but that shouldn't excuse him from walking guys.
Yeah. And I think the key point there that you said is like 4 runs in 5 innings. Yeah, we'll take that from a number 5 starter. The problem is it felt lucky to get through 5 with only 4 runs allowed. And that's the thing. Like he's been getting really lucky and only allowing 1 or 2 runs most of the time. Tonight, he got lucky and only allowed 4 runs. And that inning, I mean, it very easily, it was what, 6 to, I think when he left, it was 6 to 4.
Yeah.
So it very easily could have been 7-6 Diamondbacks when he left. Like the way he pitched, he probably didn't deserve to only give up 4 runs. And that's the concerning part, because there's after his first start, when we said, okay, well, Paxton's not going to walk 5 batters every game. He's going to be fine. Yeah, he might just walk 5 batters every game, except when he walks 8 batters, and that's the part. Like he's at a point right now where I don't feel like we've seen at least it can't get worse point, because it can definitely get worse, and it probably deserves to have been worse based on how he's pitched. And that's where that's my level of concern. And I hope it's clear. These aren't like criticisms of his as a person, or it's not a criticism of his effort. Like I've been through phases. Somebody on YouTube criticized the podcast last week, said that I always mentioned that I used to pitch in high school. I think right now mentioning it, I think this is the 4th time in the 5 years we've done this podcast that I've talked about it. But apparently that guy just listens to those episodes. But yeah, I've been through phases as a pitcher where you just can't throw strikes. And it happens to a lot of guys, and it is frustrating as fans to watch, but we're not criticizing Paxton or angry at him. It's frustrating as a fan to watch. And as a fan who wants the Dodgers to win baseball games, it's like, the team has to think about performance at some point. And yeah, I mean, the fact is Paxton doesn't have a loss yet this year, because sometimes he's gotten lucky and sometimes the offense has shown up for him, and sometimes it's both. And he got a win tonight. Like, he was the winning pitcher in this game. That tells you all you need to know about the win stat, I think. But the performance has been frustrating, and I get worried that it's going to get worse without him pitching any worse, just getting, neutral. We used to joke, pray for neutral luck. If James Paxton had neutral luck, his ERA would be 6 right now.
Yeah, and if you look at performance and how it can change, and you can look at Alex Vesia, who didn't have an IL stint, but coming into the game today, they mentioned on the broadcast he had only had 1 walk of his last 15 batters faced. He didn't issue a walk tonight.
He did.
And he issued 1. Yeah. But again, he was on a good roll, and 2-16 is better than what Paxton's doing right now. So the issue could be very easily mechanical, and he has 5 days off every time to kind of work it out. He would hope they would have found it by now, assuming, because he does have those 5 to 6 days off in between every start. But regardless of it all, it's coming to the point where when Buehler's back, they'll make a decision. If Knack does go down and they keep up Paxton, which, based on what they've done in the past, probably makes sense of what they're going to do. But when the other guys start coming back, then there will be a decision to make, and he will have to pitch better in order to be it. And as we've seen with guys in the past, it's been a mixed bag of, I guess last year was more of the mixed bag of Noah Syndergaard not working out on these 1-year deals. The other 1-year deals have kind of worked out pretty well. Paxton is working out well enough, and realistically, he's not in the plans for any significant innings, barring a whole lot of stuff happening.
Yeah, I guess the closest comp would be Andrew Heaney, who his issue wasn't walks, his issue was home runs. He was getting tons of strikeouts, but he just gave up a lot of home runs with the Dodgers. So Paxton is kind of in that same boat, except it's walks, and obviously walks are better than home runs. But Heaney ended up getting himself a good contract afterwards, because he did overall have a solid season. But it was kind of that same level of trust. Like, Like when Albert Pujols hit his 700th home run, it's like, does it even count? It's Andrew Heaney pitching. Like it's kind of like Ellie De La Cruz's first career home run coming off Noah Syndergaard. Like, oh, that only counts as a double. I could homer off Noah Syndergaard at this point, but hopefully Paxton can figure it out because he gets weak contact. He's had strikeouts in the past, so he has the potential to strike guys out. We even saw him, blow some fastballs by a couple guys tonight. It was, the bones of a good pitcher are there, but the Vesia comparison is a good one. He's got to throw strikes. Vesia, when he throws strikes, is very good. And I think Paxton, if he can keep the ball in the strike zone, only walk one or two guys each game, I think there's potential to be a really good pitcher. But I get less and less confident with each start that that's going to happen. And I really hope that he can prove me wrong.
Yeah, hopefully.
You mentioned briefly Ryan Brazier went on the IL today with the calf strain. They activated Gus Varland, who was with them in Toronto on the taxi squad. He's now back on the active roster. We didn't see him in this game. We'll see what happens there. Hopefully it's a short stint for Brazier. And like you said, maybe it is just a chance to reset and figure out some things. Because obviously a good Ryan Brazier is the best bet for this team. You got anything else before we wrap up this episode?
No, good win. And, they get to face Jordan Montgomery. I'm sure it'll be talked about if he does well against the Dodgers by some Dodger fans. So hopefully he doesn't do it.
Yeah. In case you didn't watch the game, Dodgers went 8-4. Probably clear from the context that they won the game. But we're not really a recap show. That's what the postcast is for with our buddy Pete. I assume he's doing one right now. I don't actually know that for sure. He doesn't do every game, but most Dodger games. You can check out the postcast over on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel. And then the audio shows up on our same podcast feed. So you've probably listened to it if you are a podcast listener. It's a different voice than us and you might like it. So be sure to check that out if you want to. You can, what else? You can, be an everydayer with us by watching or listen every weekday morning. If you're not an everydayer, it's easy to become one. Just watch or listen and subscribe wherever you're watching or listen right now. You can go beyond the podcast and become a Locked On Dodgers insider by going to joinsubtext.com/Locked On Dodgers. You can check out Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Sports Los Angeles, the two 24/7 streaming channels over on YouTube from the Locked On Podcast Network. You can catch every pitch of every game on SiriusXM or the SXM app by searching for Dodgers. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Locked On Dodgers. Vince is on Twitter at VinceSense91. I'm on Twitter at Snydog. Our DMs are open there. You can also email us, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or send us a voicemail or a text message at 323-863-LOCK5625. We are here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be here with us. When you get in your car or sit on your couch, tell your smart device to play podcast Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Have a good one.